Okay, in this video, we're going to learn how to take topography from real-world sites and import it into Revit. And then from there, we're going to use some modify and explode commands to help us adjust that topography to our needs for our new site. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to open up Revit here, and with Revit open, I want you to kind of see some of the final results here. Now this is some pretty crazy topography from China, which I'm about to open up with SketchUp. And so in SketchUp here, we can import all this topography and terrain. And so in order to do that, I'm just going to go to a new file here, and I'm going to go and say File, Geolocation, Add Location. From here, we can search. And so in here, I imported a map from China to just show the extremity of the landscape. However, you can do this on any landscape. I'm going to just say select region, and I'm going to crop around an area that I'm interested in and say grab. With this terrain in, it comes in nice and flat for us to use, easy to draw on top of, and locked. If you ever want to edit this, you can right click and say unlock. Now I'm going to go and show this in 3D. So I'm going to go to File, Geolocation, Show Terrain. Now, once again, I chose a pretty drastic terrain. Yours might not look this extreme, especially if you are on a site that only changes by a couple feet, throughout a large distance, such as like a city block. If it's only dropping a couple feet in elevation, it really won't be this exciting. All right, now I'm going to go through and bring this into Revit. So in order to do that, I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Export 3D Model. You do need the Pro version of SketchUp to do this. However, you can get a free trial of it. So if you are in a pinch, I'm sure you'll be able to find a trial download of SketchUp. Now I'm going to save this to my desktop. I'm just going to name this Terrain Demo. Saving as a .dwg file, which is great. We can import that into AutoCAD or Revit or many other CAD programs, as I'm sure you're aware. Opening up Revit, let's open up a new file for Revit. So I'm going to say New, and we're going to choose Architectural Template. This is under a project file, and we're going to say OK. Now with that coming in, we're going to go to our site plan. In our site plan, we are going to go to Insert, Import CAD. This is where we find where we saved. So I'm going to say Terrain Demo. I don't want to check Current View Only because then I won't be able to see it in my 3D view, which I plan on doing. Everything else here is fine for me. However, you might want to take a closer look at that if you're trying to place this strategically in your model. I'm going to say Open. And I'm going to have to zoom way out because my file is rather large. And if we take a look in 3D, we can see that the model came in successfully. I'm going to click on that box around it. It's very important that you get the box. And then I'm going to say explode. If we click on that box again and explode, and a lot of our data went away. I'm going to undo that last explosion. I'm going to go into Site Level 1. In Level 1, I'm going to click on this area, and I'm going to Hide and View Category. Level 2, I don't want to see the topography either, so I'm going to right click, Hide and View Category. And now we're going to go to our site. So in our site, we're going to then go to Massing and Site tab, Topo Surface, and I'm going to create from import. I'm going to specify the import instance, and that is going to be this terrain. All of this is okay. I can even uncheck some of these and mess around with it a little bit, but the process I've discovered, I can keep them all check and say okay. And it gives you usually a little heads up like, hey, some of this stuff is a little bit roughed in, but it's darn close, as you can see by this map. I'm going to check that off. Now with this checked, we go to 3D. You can see that we've created this nice 3D terrain. Now I've exploded it once. We'll see if that's necessary to explode it again. I'm going to highlight this model, and I can see that there's a box around it. If I hit tab, I can click on the box and say explode. Check that off, and that's usually a good thing to do because now we can edit this model individually. So if we go to edit surface with that box that's been exploded around it, if we want to highlight certain areas, we can. So let's say I want to develop like right here for a building. I can place a building pad on here, or I could even just edit these elevations. So let's say I want to change this to 0 feet elevation. Type in 0 feet, hit enter, and all those data points turn to 0 feet. And then I can check that off. In my actual site plan, if I want to place a building pad as well, that's another way to level some ground. I can go and let's say place another building pad just right here, and it's going to go to 0 feet, level 1. And so I have this pad now, and so in 3D you can see that I've created my building pad, which also involves like a concrete structure below or carving out. If I go and place a building pad over in this region, let's see how that interacts. So I'm going to go back to site. We're going to massing and site, building pad, and let's create one. Actually, let's create a real skinny one right here just to illustrate what it does once more. And so with my building pad, it's carved down a section of the earth right here. So that way its edges are nice and plumb, straight up and down. So if I were to place retaining walls in here, it's going to show it correctly. So that's how you go and bring in real world topography, and how you edit it, and how to use building pad. And last but not least, if we want to change this material of this topography, you just click on the material itself, and under the properties of that topography, we can hit the 3 dots here, and we can search for, let's say, like grass. And usually you can't see this pop open. Revit by default usually hides this little window right here. So you gotta click on that window here to see below it. Drag that up, click on it, jump it up into your project with the arrow, click on that grass. I like to check for shaded view, use render color, and say okay. And if we click off and go to our shaded view, you should see that this comes in a pretty dark green in this case because of all the topography lines. But if your screen looks like mine, and you can see that it's very dark green right now, you can also edit that type of material by clicking on the 3 dots. And if we uncheck render appearance, click on the color itself, we can lighten that up a little bit and say apply and okay, and it lightens up that color. But once again, this topography is pretty extreme, and so all these lines are causing it to look pretty black. Okay, don't forget to save and subscribe, and help me make more videos like this by suggesting different content you'd like to see. This video came from a former student of mine that is in college right now for architecture, and was asking about how to adjust material like this. So thanks, Ryan, for the suggestion, and I hope this helps. Don't forget to save and subscribe.